Yes.
I mean, I really couldn't agree more with Nikki and Robert there. I mean, the Leave campaign all throughout the Brexit referendum, you know, shouted and yelled about sovereignty for the UK Parliament, sovereignty for the UK, and then when, you know, Nikki bravely votes for that, suddenly she's being attacked. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
OK. Isabella?
Can I pick up on that? Because where exactly was Nikki when sovereignty was ceded to Brussels over decades? I didn't see Nikki manning the barricades in favour of sovereignty. And I want to make another point, which is about trust here. And I think we've got a real issue with trust in our MPs to carry out the will of the people. If you just take Barnsley as an example, 68% of people in Barnsley voted to leave. Unfortunately, 73% of our MPs are Remainers, and that is now being played out in the Houses of Parliament in a way that erodes trust in the execution of the will of the people. And I think that is a real problem.
You said the man on the gangway there, you in blue, yes.
Yes, we're constantly being told by these elite politicians, and obviously she's done a really treacherous act last night against the Conservative Party, but the lady on the other side is in a party that should be defending the working class communities that this town is, and their party is tending towards the single market now, which is unrestricted migration, and that is what this town overall voted Leave to stop, because it damaged the working class communities. She's worse than her, in effect, and her party is doing more damage to these communities. If we're going to hear that Keir Starmer keep on about the single markets on its way back, that's what we wouldn't have in these working class traditional communities, and you're stabbing us in the back if you're going to carry on what happened last night with those treacherous rebels and bring that down upon us. You'd not. And when he says about parliamentary sovereignty, the people are the sovereign to put the representatives in a parliament. And we made our decision. We know why we made it. I know you say we're thick up north, but I remember voting on my ballot paper, and it said Leave or Remain. And it didn't say when I put my box in Leave. Now turn to question 2. Do you want the soft Brexit or do you want the hard Brexit?
Rebecca Long Bailey.
Look, we're quite clear that Brexit is going to happen, but we want a deal that puts our economy. We want a deal that puts our economy
the single
first.
market.
Now, last night's
give her a
vote
fair
was
shout.
important because over the last few weeks, it's been very rarely reported in the media as to the amendments that were put through in the EU withdrawal bill. But the Conservative voted against Labour's amendments to make sure that workers' rights were protected. They voted against Labour's amendments to make sure that our environmental rights and safeguards were protected. They haven't dealt with the Euratom issue, as Robert has discussed earlier. And they also didn't look at specific sectors, specific parts of crucial industry that reflect areas of Barnsley, areas of Salford, where I'm from, where if we did not get a good deal from the European Union, we would be on our knees economically, and that would not support working people.
But just stick with his point. He said he voted out, and Labour wants a single market, I think are the words John McDonnell used. They want easy immigration. You know, what is it about vote Leave that you accept?
We want an economic arrangement with the European Union that allows us to trade freely so that the industries we have here, can trade in the best way possible. In terms of free movement, we recognise that coming out of the European Union means that free movement will end. And we want to use that as an opportunity to end the undercutting of pay by people that have been shipped in from Europe.
But we're hearing Keir Starmer, I heard him last Sunday, he mentioned single market.
Yes. He said he wanted similar benefits that we currently have within the single market. He didn't say he wanted to stay as a member of the single market.
He did say he wanted easy movement rather than free movement, whatever that means.
What does that mean?
What? Yeah. OK. The man up there on the 3 down on the gangway there, you, sir.
The EU are never going to give us a good deal, because whatever we think is a good deal is a bad deal for them.
Not necessarily.
So all this
Not
bickering,
necessarily.
when you're having a go at Theresa May, as weak as she is at the moment, is just undermining our country
Okay,
and
Brian.
our so-called chance of trying to get a good deal.
Brian, you want him? Robert, I mean.
Well, I don't think that's true at all. A bad deal for us doesn't mean it's a good deal for Europe or vice versa. In fact, a good deal for both of us would be...
They can't give us a
I'm
good
sorry,
deal because it looks bad on them.
There's a future here for the whole of Western Europe, including Britain, to actually live in a way which is going to be mutually satisfactory. And it's very, very foolish to think in terms of what's a good deal for us is a bad deal for them or vice versa. That's not how it works. That's not how dealership works. And I have to say, it's all very well talking about trust, but the difficulty really, of course, is that if you have a very weak and undermined Prime Minister, then, of course, these debates which you have in Parliament at the moment do look rather stark, but they need to be had. They're really essential. And at the moment, I mean, to the gentleman over there who's worried about financial things in Yorkshire, believe me, I understand that. I have a huge love for Yorkshire. I've spent a lot of my working time in Yorkshire. But the fact of the matter is, you also want cancer treatment in Yorkshire, and there's a real risk that the machines and the drugs and the other things that we need, such as the isotopes, will not be available to us unless we actually drive a very difficult bargain. And that's a very complicated issue.